Hey folks, Jack McNeil Jr. here with the Kentner Church of Christ, and we're coming to you today from outside. We've left the green screen behind. I want to talk today a little bit about flowers. Here in the state of Texas, our state flower is the bluebonnet. The bluebonnet is a very beautiful flower. The state of Texas has seen fit to seed it and sow seeds of the bluebonnet all along the Texas highways. So on a really good wet year, you see many beautiful bluebonnets. But when the time came when they decided they're going to pick a state flower, it came down to really two choices. The bluebonnet, which was the winner, but also the prickly pear cactus flower was the runner-up. And you see behind me right here, this beautiful bloom on that cactus. That was nearly the state flower of Texas. Now, some interesting facts about these flowers. Bluebonnets really didn't do very well this year in 2025. There was not enough rain last fall and early in the right time. There wasn't rain at the right time. Not only does it need rain, but it has to fall at the right time. We've had a fairly decent year for wetness in 2025, but it didn't rain at the correct times, and so we didn't get a large bloom this year. There were a few patches that were really nice, but for the most part, there's not much there. Now, an interesting thing about the bluebonnet, it will not bloom if there is a drought. So in drought years, there is no bluebonnet bloom whatsoever. And so they just kind of go dormant and they stay that way. The cactus flower, though, blooms no matter what. It doesn't depend upon a lot of rain because the cactus thrives in drought conditions. The cactus is going to bloom even in drought conditions. It may not bloom as often or as much, but it's going to bloom regardless of the external weather circumstances. And so, this reminds me a little bit of some people, how their happiness, even their faith, depends upon their external circumstances. Take for instance in the book of Job. We read about Job, that Job was a great man. He's the greatest man in the East. He had extreme wealth, many flocks, many servants, had 10 children. And we know that Job was a good man. And the devil attacks Job and in one day takes away all that he has, all of his belongings and even his 10 children. And notice what Job said on that occasion when that happened. He says there in Job 1, beginning in verse 20, "Then Job arose, tore his robe, and shaved his head, and fell to the ground, and worshipped. And he said, Naked came I from my mother's womb, naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." In all this, Job did not sin, nor charge God with wrong. And so that didn't seem to stop Job's faith, did it? Now, the devil wasn't through with his attacks. He makes another attack upon Job's health, and he destroys Job's health. And so Job is there. He's sick. He's covered with these sores, and he gets no relief whatsoever. And so you think that his wife would be very sympathetic, but imagine her. She enjoyed the wealth that Job enjoyed. She was right there alongside him. And so I have no doubt that when things were going well, she was very happy. But you have to imagine, she's gone through a lot of trauma as well. She's lost her children. She's lost her wealth. She's lost her standing in society. But notice what she says to Job in verse 9 of chapter 2. Then his wife said to him, "Do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die." And so here they've entered into a time of drought in their life. And she is not blooming whatsoever, is she? She is not putting forth and shining forth the glory of God. Whereas Job, notice Job, he's like the cactus flower. He's not worried about, he's certainly concerned, but his faith is not dependent upon what's going on around him. Notice his reaction to what she says to him. But he said to her, "You speak as one of the foolish women speaks. Shall we indeed accept good from God, and shall we not accept adversity?" In all this, Job did not sin with his lips. And then notice Job later on, when he's challenged by his so-called friends, and told that lots of things. But notice what he says about his faith. He says, though he slay me, this is Job 13, verse 15. Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Even so, I will defend my ways before him. So Job maintains his integrity, his faith in God throughout all of this process. And as we come to the end of the book of Job, we see that he endured. And because he endured, God blessed him. In Job 42, in verse 10, it says there, and the Lord restored Job's losses when he prayed for his friends. Indeed, the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. Verse 12 is the verse I was really looking for. Now the Lord blessed the latter days of Job more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 female donkeys. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. And so we see that Job, in the end, God blessed him because he bloomed even when there was a drought in the time of his life. He's like that cactus flower. And then we read in James chapter 5, verses 10 and 11, he says there, my brethren, take the prophets who spoke the name of the Lord as an example of suffering and patience. Indeed, we count them blessed who endured. You have heard of the perseverance of Job and seen the end intended by the Lord, that the Lord is very compassionate and merciful. And so there may be a time of drought in your life. Don't hide yourself and lose your faith and hide like the bluebonnet, but rather bloom, even in drought, even in a difficult time in your life, because God is there with you if you are a faithful child of His. But be a cactus flower. Have a great day.